deep water. Pretty much everything you need outside of Agaballs and Ganon teleports. And I hope that Benteezy can find what he needs quickly because he's running a little late here. Acktheboker does start in Link's house and looks like he's headed straight up to the castle.
Yeah, just a little bit of a false start here. Hopefully that'll be okay. So looks like we're gonna murder some guards, maybe do a tree pull. If he does a tree pull, he already knows what's in it, but looks like he's walking past it for the moment.
Yep, so you are going to see runners skip a lot of stuff because, well, they know what's there and they don't want it. Hey, flippers.
Yep, heading just for that and just quitting on out.
And it looks like Benteezy is right behind him for those flippers.
Benteezy's also interested in those 10 bombs that were in this other chest, though, which Ack just walked right past.
Yeah, that's definitely a nice grab, especially if you don't really want to deal with routing them in otherwise. Ooh, Power Glove.
Yeah, that 10 bomb chest is not in the base item pool. It's specifically in the item pool for standard mode so that Uncle can give you bombs.
Yep, Acktheboker grabbing a bomb drop from his 50-50, so he has one little explosive at hand.
And it looks like maybe he's thinking of using it on an old man, but no, just strolling past his house.
Stupid Octorok being a troll as Acktheboker heads up towards Eastern, which, for those of you who may not have seen it yet, is a pendant. Eastern, Mire, and Turtle Rock are our pendants. Yeah, that's right. We got one of those seeds. We'll see how nicely it works out for him, though. Turtle Rock being the green pendant, so be very, very careful.
Yeah, a potential Cane of Samaria free seed.
You know, we were going through the spoil log, and I didn't even think about that.
I did and looked, but, well, I'll keep it to myself.
Yeah, I know where it is. I just didn't think about the fact that I might not need it. Alright, Benteezy has grabbed his flute. He's headed towards Kakariko to unstuck the duck, as people say. Acktheboker grabbing his Moon Pearl out of Eastern. And he's probably headed to the sewers.
Yeah, grabs the 300 rupees out of Sanctuary, which Benteezy didn't bother with. That might just be to buy some bombs.
That is a fair point, as he did not grab the... Wow, that's a really healthy well. You got the silvers in there and 2 heart containers. That's nice. Kind of curious as to where Acktheboker is going at this point.
It might be south route to CAC.
Yeah, it could be fishing for some bombs. Never mind. You know, he's probably taking the south route so he can grab bombs either in the bombable hut there, or I don't think it's called that in the light world, but the hut that has 2 rats and 4 bombs, or buy them from the vent.
Meanwhile, we see Benteezy stealing this old lady's hammer.
Yeah, it's a shame this game doesn't let you throw it like you should be able to.
And looks like Benteezy is going to route in that Moon Pearl out of Eastern now. We'll see where Ack goes, because he is not really missing any locations after Kakariko that Benteezy's already done.
All rise for the playing of the Hyrulean National Anthem. And the chickadee hath liberty.
I feel like you're going to run out of bird rhymes before too long.
How much you want to wager on that? Anyways, they're basically just retracing each other's steps, Acktheboker becoming much more healthy as Benteezy takes up Fortune Telling.
Yeah, this many hearts early is kind of nice for a spoiler race. It can be difficult to route into many of them.
Yeah, that's fair. You don't really want to worry too much about the non-required items. So things like bombs and rupees and hearts sometimes go by the wayside. Ooh, he got a rod.
Yeah, he grabs the ice rod. Benteezy didn't bother with that. Turtle Rock is a pendant, but Ack may have just routed in out of habit, or it might just be a better weapon for some fight he's planning here.
Or there might be something on either Trinex or Sahasrahla. So to give a quick synopsis for chat, basically how this race works is the runners are given 15 minutes beforehand to parse through the spoiler log as quickly as they can. So they know what's in all 216 locations, and Acktheboker was really close to dying there, even though he had a fairy. So they know what's in all the chests. You're going to see them skip a lot of just overall locations in general, and you're going to see them skip a lot of chests in individual rooms that they normally would have grabbed.
Yeah, the average collection rate in these races tends to be between about 50 and 60 from what I've seen, at least for the runners who are good enough to take part in the tournament to this point.
Yeah, much lower than your standard rando, even a very, very good standard rando. And they're both sitting on 7 hearts right now, so that's much nicer than these seeds normally are.
You see both of them making the same strange long trip now.
Catfish. That's the only thing they could be coming up here for. It can't even be anything in the Zora domain because they don't have the mirror. This is terrible. Well, look at that. Catfish holding on to a hook shot. I wonder if it's a little rusty. Depends on how long it was down there, I guess.
It's made of titanium. It's rust-proof.
Wow, that's a fancy friggin' hook shot. Holy cow. Alright, Acktheboker grabbing his hook shot in just a second here while Benteezy makes a climb straight up the mountain. And judging by the fact that he was waiting on that hook shot, he is probably going to the east as soon as the dead rocks get out of his way. Stupid.
Makes it through the underrated worst screen in the game.
Yeah, that really is. That screen has the potential to be absolutely awful between the cabbages from hell and the squirrels that just don't properly die.
We see Benteezy going into Paradox.
Yep, Acktheboker getting cabbaged a little bit while Benteezy grabs some mail, which I'm sure he much appreciates. think Benteezy for a second there forgot he had the hook shot, but hey, we got a bow.
Bow and a sword. All kinds of equipment just hanging out here in Paradox.
Yeah, I've noticed Paradox Cave seems to be really stacked most of the time for a lot of these raids.
That's what happens when you put 7 items in there, and they're relatively low on the item requirement list. To answer chat, the timer discrepancy is that Benteezy has included the 15-minute spoiler log parsing time in their timer.
Yeah, that's a thing that sometimes runners will forget to do. You can choose to either start your timer when you start actually racing, or start your timer when you start the log, and start your timer at negative 15 minutes. Some runners forget to do either one of those.
Meanwhile, we see Benteezy get the mirror out of Spiral Cave, which means that that mirror was locked behind the hookshot on Catfish.
Yeah, Catfish was really holding out on us this go around. Alright, so judging by where Benteezy is going, he is probably going to make use of that hookshot and head into Swamp.
I do love either Hammer Argus or Fighter Sword Argus. That sounds like fun. Let's do that.
I mean, it sounds like fun if you're not the one doing it.
Ice Rod was in Blind's hideout.
And Argus is likely why Acktheboker picked up that Ice Rod. Although he also did go down there to grab some bombs, so it may have just been a point there of, well, I need the bombs, and I know the Ice Rod's there, so I'm just going to go ahead and grab both of those while I'm at it.
Yeah, he does have silver arrows in the bow, although no actual arrows right now. But sometimes Argus is hard to hit with the bow more than with the rods.
Alright, so Benteezy grabbing an early chest in Swamp. Hey, there's that Cane of Samaria that might not technically be required.
Even if it's not required, number one, some runners will get out of habit, but also that close, it just makes going up GT much easier. Most runners are used to using cane strats for the Wizrobe rooms.
That's a fair point. Yep, Acktheboker making the same decision for one of the 2 reasons that you mentioned. Oh, that's interesting. Benteezy going over to the left side. Alright, so I guess the good thing about these spoiler log races is that you know when there's something on left side swamp, and, you know, the bad thing is, well, you know there's something on left side swamp.
Yeah, we see the cane coming in handy for Benteezy right away for use with this switch. The fighter sword can't reach across, so without that, he'd be using bombs.
That is a fair point. And the fact that he did pull the switch there either means that there is something in the chest that usually holds the big key, or he just did it out of habit. So, chat trying to have a little discussion on whether or not Trinex is required. Keep in mind that even though Benteezy didn't pick it up yet, doesn't mean it's not required. He might decide to route it in with doing the Town of Outcasts. There you go. Forgotten what it was called there for a minute. So don't hold your breath on that one. We might still see a Turtle Rock Seed.
Well, we get the fire rod, so Swamp apparently has 2/3 of our Turtle Rock care package. Mitt's not included.
Nor the hammer, I guess. Speaking of that, I wonder where our mitts are. Normally runners grab that as soon as they can, because it just kind of opens up everything else for them, but we haven't seen them yet. That fire rod grab early does mean that we won't see the lamp unless it's either in the way or unless dark rooms are particularly terrifying for whichever runner, which, as these guys are both in the round of 16, I doubt that second one's going to be the case.
Yeah, potentially Meyer isn't required as it's also a pendant. Aga's only going to be required if there's something on the Lumberjack, and I'll just go ahead and spoil if there's not.
So, about mitts not being part of that care package, I think you gave our runners a little bonus here. Normally when it says not included, it's not included.
So yeah, Swamp is a little bit loaded in the seed. That's Kano, Samaria, Fire Rod, and Mitts. So rushing it, well worthwhile.
Yeah, most definitely. So that Flippers pickup definitely being a very, very good idea as well. There was a whole bunch of stuff in here.
That said, it's time for either Fighter Sword or Menu Boss.
Yeah, Benteezy going for the Fighter Sword, which is definitely the more difficult of the two strategies.
Yeah, it's also the faster if you're good at it, though, and he's doing pretty well so far.
Yeah, a thing to keep in mind is that Fighter Swords, slashes, or pokes will not do anything to those little puffs. Argus does not take damage, any part of Argus, from anything less than Master Sword damage, so Fighter Sword spins. And Acktheboker doing the same thing, so going for the quicker strats.
Yeah, looking pretty good. Benteezy gets a silver arrow kill. That fire rod's not gonna work. He doesn't have magic or arrows, so hammer for last phase.
Gotta be a little careful here. This can get out of hand, but he's doing really, really well. And it looks like Benteezy is going to take that fire rod and those mitts and head straight on over to ice.
Maybe not.
Could just be making a little detour. Well,
Grabbing
that'll
that
make
half
Cold Stare
magic.
easier.
Yeah, that's going to be a little more comfortable for Cold Stare to have 8 shots with Fire Rod instead of 0 if he is heading into Ice, which it does look like he's going to do.
Yeah, Hammer Cold Stare, I think, not being anyone's favorite fight ever.
Well, it's better than the alternative of Fighter Sword Cold Stare, but yes.
Yeah, that's a fair point. I honestly forget that you can even do Ice Palace without the hammer.
Well, you can't, but, you know, you're not going to go with...
Oh yeah, that's right. Yeah, so, yeah, hammer sucks. Fire Rod also being an exceptional weapon in here since, well, all you have otherwise are stupid fighter sword spin.
The hookshot's actually really great in this dungeon. A lot of the enemies die from it. Act taking an unfortunate bounce back from the bomb there as he tries to blow up the floor.
Yeah, still managing though, as Benteezy does the infamous Ice Palace bomb jump, but I still haven't figured out how to.
You drop a bomb, position yourself, and hope.
I must not be hoping hard enough then.
And Benteezy not heading straight into Cold Stare, instead heading back up. Pretty obviously, they probably wouldn't do Ice Palace yet, unless there was something in here they wanted.
That is a fair point. Benteezy running a little low on health here, has to take a little bit of care.
Yeah, there's still the fairy, but this isn't really where you want to burn that.
Hello.
Nothing will get our runners to come somewhere first, quite like boots.
Yeah, very much so. We frequently see absolute beelines for those boots.
I mean, after all, until you get the boots, you're not really a runner, you're just a walker.
Benteezy using the Cane of Samaria just because he can, I guess. That anti-fairy just homing in on Ack.
Benteezy uses a fighter spin to get them into the corner so that he can group them for some fire rod shots, and is switching over to the hammer to finish off the last 2.
Oh man, that was super close right there.
Yeah, Ack enters with only 5 fire rod shots instead of 8 after breaking the shell, so gonna have to use a few more hits after. And there's gonna be that fairy.
Yeah, probably really happy he had that at this point.
Cold Stare is the worst boss in the game to die to, so yes. Well, Aga too, but we're not counting that. Ooh, the nice hammer double kill.
Yeah, now you get to guess where the drop's gonna be. Alright, Benteezy just ripping through desert, which, by the way, was boots locked.
They are technically not in go mode yet. They are missing one particular item, but... oh, there it is.
Yeah, they'd probably prefer one more sword, but at this given point, they can take out Ganon. And with silvers, it wouldn't even be too terrible if they didn't get a sword. That BMOS kind of simultaneously being a jerk and pushing Ack in the right direction, so make of that what you will. And Land Militia showing werewolf tendencies. They all go down to 1 silver apiece. Oh, Acktheboker taking a close and personal hug with an Igor there.
Yeah, I was about to say, I think he's going to take some damage on the way out of this cutscene.
Wow, those first 2 Landmillas trying to be a troll, and Axe still takes him down with the fire rod as Benteezy grabs his 3rd sword.
Yep, and yeah, 2 of our swords were locked by those boots that were in Ice Palace, so...
Alright, so basically our runners have everything they need or want at this point, and we are just going to be clearing dungeons as fast as
yeah, I could see Benteezy grabbing another heart container along the way somewhere. 7 hearts is a little low, they do still have a fairy left, but otherwise I expect to just see dungeon execution from here on out.
Honestly, with the fact that they do have blue mail, and tempered sword, and that fairy, I would anticipate them not getting anything unless they lose the fairy at some point. And with your remaining dungeons being Tower of Hera, Pod, Skull Woods, and Thieves Town, there's not really a whole lot of room for insanity. I mean, Mothula can get out of hand and so can Blind, but with runners this good, it's a fairly low chance, and 7 hearts blue mail is going to be enough that even if they do get out of hand, you're probably still going to be okay.
Yeah, the most dangerous thing left before Ganon's tower is probably pod dark rooms. They do have fire rod for the turtle room, which is the specific one.
Yeah, and with half magic, they can choose to be rather free with their fire rod shots if they miss the first one. They'll get a torch eventually.
Yeah, so right now, Benteezy's maybe, I don't know, about a third of Thieves Town ahead. Plenty of time to make up for that after this or during it, but it is a lead.
Yeah, I've had several people say that you always root for more rando, and with the way things are currently looking outside of any mishaps, we might be getting some more rando after this.
Yeah, so I guess we should mention that if Benteezy does win, this is going to be a doubleheader. Game 3 will immediately follow this, by which I mean about 30 minutes later.
Acktheboker having a wonderful god pixel through that hallway there, so that was really nice to watch.
We do see them go like 3-4 seconds out of their way for powder. That's completely reasonable, as it's one of the best safeties in the game.
Yeah, especially with the fact that our runners probably aren't going to have any more hearts than they do right now. Powder basically heals you fully. And Blind perhaps suggesting where we should go next says that we should hammer out our differences with Helmasaur.
Blind is terrible at directions. We're going to Skullwoods next, almost certainly.
Well, I mean, not necessarily immediately next, but we do have to eventually go to Pod and hammer out our differences. Or alternatively, I guess we could bomb out our differences, but that seems a bit, you know, not ideal. To answer chat, Ice Rod was sitting in Kakariko, Blind's hideout. Benteezy's spin speed not even fast enough to get by that thief. And we had two really good blind fights there. Ack taking a little bit of damage, but otherwise fights really quick. Minimal damage, minimal issues, and another crystal for each of them.
Benteezy almost gets knocked back into the hand, which would have been unfortunate, but does not quite suffer that indignity.
Has the mirror equipped, which is a kind of dangerous thing to do, but to each their own.
I mean, it will be the next item they use. They're probably going to just flute.
Yeah, that's fair. Mothula being really polite there, just stepping right off the north wall and allowing 4 hits to take it down.
Yeah, that was pretty much a picture-perfect Mothula fight.
Acktheboker just using that fire rod with impunity. And there we go, Mothula being a little more of an annoyance to Ack, but not by much, so Mothula not really bugging anybody today. Alright, Benteezy with not a whole lot of extra money after he pays our wonderful favorite monkey friend who just steals all of our rupees. But does have enough to get the job done, so he'll be heading in the pod with Ack following right behind him. And they just have a Tower of Hera clear, and we can go up the mountain one more time.
Yeah, Go Mode Pod could be interesting depending on the key layout. It's possible for it to be very quick in a spoiler race because you know where the big key is, and you just need the big key plus a little key.
That is a fair point. It can also be terrible if that big key is in some spot way in the back. He does appear to be avoiding the bow lock side, so it's at least not there. So it looks like we will be having a quick journey to the back of the dungeon.
Could be on the bridge here. It's not, but it could have been.
That's a fair point. I had forgotten about that chest. Very nice hammer jump there.
Yeah, it gets to enter the dark maze from this side. Probably means it's on the bottom chest, or that he wants to save that small key. Looks like both.
There you go. So pod having pretty nice routing if you know the hammer jump. Probably a little less so if you don't. You'd need one more small key. Yeah, chat pointing out that Ack's grab of the ice rod earlier was a little bit of a troll, actually, because it kind of pointed towards something being needed, and since the fire rod was, Ack deciding to just leave that bomb where it is and try again. But because the fire rod was also in swamp and he didn't have any magic, he didn't really have any need for the ice rod. Takes a little more time to line it up this time, but does get it, and that is a very difficult bomb jump.
Yeah, and it tends to be the most useful for people who play Key Sanity. It's only a marginal time save in most cases with Rando, but in this case, because it lets them route for one fewer small key, it can be a pretty big time difference as well.
That's a fair point. It all depends upon where those pod keys are hidden.
And Benteezy enters the Helma fight.
Yep, and Helmasaur goes down without too much of an issue there. Acktheboker going to be coming right behind him. Alright, so Benteezy's just going to have a flute up to the mountain, and then a quick Hera murdering, and then we get to go take out the pig's favorite castle. One other potential advantage here, or difference in these races over the usual rando race, that I don't think we've seen for this particular race, is that the runners are both allowed to watch each other's race or watch the restream, as it may be. Sometimes you'll even have one kind of come in and make some sort of comment on how they're playing, or as it is, how they're not playing. During a crystal cutscene. We have not seen that this go round, but that does not prevent them from kind of knowing where the other is and knowing who's ahead and who's behind.
Yeah, I think that both of these runners may find that to affect their play a little bit too much, so they may not be doing it. But we have seen some runners who just kind of have it on in the background, as we see Benteezy head over towards where they're going to mirror to Hera.
Speaking of which, you can put your guesses in chat relatively soon. Let's wait until Moldorm bites the dust, but it's going to be a really short trip to Ganon's Tower. So you can put your guesses in chat as to where the big key is. Don't guess numbers, because the runners are going to be skipping a lot of chests. So the numbers would be very, very small, but you can put locations. If you're going to guess a room that has more than one chest, then go ahead and put the chest location as well. We'll be getting to that in just a couple minutes, but I figured I'd say it now before I forgot, because Hera isn't going to take long. Although we do have a coffee break, so I guess it'll take some time. Yeah, Benteezy looks to have about a minute and a half lead, I would say, but that is nothing official. That's just hammer row timing TM.
Yeah, it's probably going to take something pretty significant for a comeback to happen from this point, but it certainly is in the realm of possibility.
Yep, so for those of you rooting for more rando, unless Benteezy makes a mistake here, you're probably going to get what you want. That hammer bro time comment in chat was actually really funny, so I do appreciate it.
Oh, Benteezy getting knocked down the center hole is the sort of thing that could help Ack catch up.
Yeah, Moldorm definitely putting a not yet stamp on this jet seed. Alright, Moldorm 1, Benteezy 0. Oof, playing a little bit of baseball there.
Goes down quick this time after rejecting him off the platform initially.
Alright, so for those of you who have been holding out on putting your locations in chat, go ahead and do that. And for those of you who did already, you jumped the gun, darn it. I told you to wait.
Well, we're going to close it here in a second once he mirrors back, but where are you thinking? I'm going to go with the vanilla location. We didn't actually look before the race intentionally.
Yeah, I don't ever look. It's more fun not to. I'm going to go ahead and say Stealthos Room, top left chest. Or, in the spoiler log, known as DM Room, named for Dark Magician.
So Benteezy enters the tower at 1 hour and 5 seconds.
You mean 45 minutes and 5 seconds. His timer gotcha.
No, I was going to make a joke about how Ack's actually ahead, but it's fine.
Oh, sorry to ruin your plan there. There was a moment where Benteezy paused, and I thought for a second it might actually be tie over. Alright, so we do have one guess for Compass Room. But it was not quite to be. You were close, Aussie 101, but you didn't quite have it.
Yep, and Ack enters at 55 seconds, so about a 50-second difference. That Moldorm fall probably cut the lead about in half.
Yeah, that sounds about right. Alright, Benteezy walking through the gauntlet with 3 hearts, but does still have his fairy, so don't worry too much yet.
That said, the fairy animation is like another 7 or 8 seconds.
Yeah, but dying's a little more than that, so... Ooh, Ack grabbing butter.
And Benteezy actually releases the fairy for the health refill to save the time.
Yeah, but there was a moment there where that fairy didn't want to be eaten, and I had a moment where I was a little terrified.
Well, I mean, safety room was just on the other side. He could have done that, but that would have obviously cut further.
Yeah, Ack grabbing that butter sword there is interesting, as Benteezy played Ring Around the Rosie there, except for with lasers.
Yeah, the difference between Tempered and Butter with perfect execution in Gauntlet and Ganon Fight is 0 seconds, but if there are mistakes, Butter can go a long way.
Yeah, butter is basically an insurance policy. Alright, taking 2 cycles for Benteezy, so if Acktheboker pulls off a 1-cycle landmo, that'll be a little more time. A couple of rooms here for Ack being a little more polite than they were for Benteezy, so it looks like he'll have a slightly quicker gauntlet there.
Yeah, we'll also see what Benteezy's health situation ends up going into Ganon. Blue male Ganon Hug is 6 hearts, I believe, so that's the, Oko in that regard.
That is a fair point. I don't think I've seen a Ganon Hug or otherwise Death decide a race in this tournament yet, but it's a very real possibility. And Ack does seem to be catching up on sheer execution through this gauntlet, so we could be in for a really close race, especially if Moldorm 2 does what Moldorm 1 did.
Yeah, I did see it decide one race, but so we see him get Moldorm 2 cleanly. Does not take any of the refills, so gonna go for Ganon and Aga with 6 hearts and like 1.5 bars of normal magic.
Yeah, that's about right. I really don't think that magic's going to be a problem, especially as he has 20 arrows. I'm more concerned at this point about fire bats being a pain. Don't know if that was a double or a triple.
That was definitely a single. I think the first one was a triple. The first one was a triple.
Very nicely done. 3 cycle there, and that's the quickest he could have done it in since cycle 2 of the real Aga gave him a blue ball.
So he's going to be heading into Ganon about as Ack is heading into Aga 2.
Yep, so this is definitely a point where a Ganon fall could cost him the race.
Yeah, Firebats in blue do 3, except for phase 4, I think. So, only room for 1 hit from those.
Ooh, Ack taking an extra cycle here.
And Ben does take a Firebat hit, but he's into phase 3. This is definitely the safer part of the fight.
Yeah, at this point it's just be careful, don't do anything stupid, whack him a couple times, toss a couple silvers into him, don't fall off the bridge. Not going for the torch glitch, but not really needed.
And there's the 4th arrow.
Alright, and he strolls across his perilous bridge, and he is done. Put your GGs in chat for Benteezy.
He's finishing with an official time of minus 15 minutes. That's 52:25. Meanwhile, not terribly far behind is Acktheboker. Get your GGs in chat for him as well. And that's an official time of 53:13. So that's what, 40-something seconds? Math is hard.
Yep, 48 seconds being the difference between our runners. Excellent race by both of them around the 53, 52, 53 minute mark. So great seed. They did have some convoluted routing in the beginning, but by and large being able to pull off the dungeon rush with very few problems. And look at that collection rate on Benteezy's side, 51.
Not the lowest I've seen in this tournament, but among the lower. Nice in-game time as well. So we are, I presume, not having an interview because these two runners are getting ready for, round number 3. But what do you have any thoughts on this seed in particular? That was a really tight finish. I'm hoping they'll have another one just as close next.
Yeah, I'm hoping for the same thing. It did look like Acktheboker got a little more comfortable as the race went in, so I don't know if he was perhaps a little rusty on it or just wasn't quite sure about his beginning game routing. But as towards the end game execution, he definitely did make up some time. So this next race could be very, very interesting. How about you?
Yeah, I will probably catch some of it. We'll see how that goes. But I'm looking forward to seeing it on VOD, if nothing else. And I am rooting for I'm rooting for a tie. I want to see a game 4. We'll get that within 2 seconds.
Of course you do. I didn't even mention watching the next game because I'll be here coming for it. So I'll just be sticking around. And as for people who are sticking around, Sammy Moss, who was our tracker for this race, so shout out to her, will be joining me for the next race as tracker there too. So I hope we'll have a good race.
Yeah, and I guess one other thing. That race was great. You should give both of these runners a follow. That's Acktheboker and Benteezy.
Oh, Mercer just beating me in chat by like 2 frames. I'm calling shenanigans.
That pun was so bad that I'm going to leave.
I don't know about that. I thought it was funny.
But you all have a excellent night. Stick around for more great spoiler randomizer action.
Yep, for those of you who are planning to stick around, there's probably somewhere between a 25 and 30-minute delay because Acktheboker is probably going to finish out their credits. And then we're going to start the 15-minute study period for both of our runners again. So definitely stay tuned. We'll have some more wonderful rando waiting for you when we get back.